So next question in the learning next steps category. How do you know about your own voice? How do we know about style? How do I know what's my way of creating photos? And this question kind of goes at, well, there's a lot of people already creating photos, so how do I find my space there? How do I do something unique and different? And that's a fun discovery process, isn't it? It's challenging. Um, just like you have your own fingerprints, you have your own speaking voice, you have your own style of the way you look, you also uniquely have a way you create images. It may be similar to somebody else, it may be inspired by somebody else, but it's this unique then combination of your experiences and things that have inspired you, then that meets with all your chemical stuff and biological stuff going on in your brain and your life experiences, that when you look through the camera at something, you will do it differently than most other people. So that is so powerful. The more you can be unique, it does two things. One, it gives you a potential audience that no one else might have. So there's a practical side to that. But even more importantly, it creates something that is a gift to yourself, and that's so important, especially as we're living in this this time of coronavirus and uncertainty, in all sorts of uncertainties in the world right now. Making some art that helps you express your feelings is so powerful. It's such a healing opportunity for yourself. And the more authentic you are, the more this is me in that, the more helpful it is to you and hopefully to the world. Yeah. Neat stuff, huh? Yeah. You didn't know art would do all that. All right, Lightroom and editing. Editing. So I got this question a bunch. Do I always have to edit my photos? Do I? And as I read this, I mean, the teacher side of me, the adult, the grumpy person, sometimes when goes, lazy kids don't want to edit their photos. But I know it's more than that. Here's my opinion. Yes. Do you have to edit all your photos? No. But I do believe you should edit your photos at least to choosing. I took 30 photos. I only showed you 5 today. That's editing. That is a selection process of, rather than showing all 4,000 pictures you took at Coachella, let me just show you 20. That's editing. And of those 20, yes, I also believe you should edit them. You should take some software time to add that extra layer of yourself to the photos through color and in tone and texture and exposure and things that you control that way. So those 5 photos I showed you were edited in Lightroom. I hardly ever show a photo that's never not been edited. That's my personal opinion, partially because I enjoy the process. If you don't enjoy the editing process with moving sliders around, at least do the selection editing process. Okay, so next question. How do you know what to change when you make edits? Especially when there's not something specifically wrong with a photo. If it's the exposure is correct, the color of the light's correct, there's no things that shouldn't be there, there's the crop is right. How do you decide what to change? Again, I think that comes back to voice and style. For me, I'll always change the colors just a little bit. As I've shown you in the Lightroom videos, I use split toning and the HSL, the hue. I nudge colors a little bit. So that's something I do on just about all my photos that are artistic, less so on the portraits. But on the artistic photos, I do that on all of them, even if that's the only change I make. Because that's a layer of me. And it makes it more a Michael photo. It's identifiable, hopefully, when people are in their social media feeds, they can say, "Oh, that's a Michael photo." So, most photographers that I follow, even if I'm doing the fast scroll, I'll see something that's like, oh, I know who that is, and I'll go back and say, oh, yep, that's Sean Tucker, or that's Brian Minear, and I'll go, yep, that's that person. So yeah, that's why. Yeah, so it may only take 5 minutes. It may be even a preset you make, where not 5 minutes. It might take 5 seconds. It may be a preset you make with those basic fundamental things you do in Lightroom or whatever software you use to say this is my photo. How much photoshopping is considered too much? We haven't done any Photoshop in this class. Again, it's art. If you're putting something in a newspaper and saying this is the news, and you've replaced the sky in the photo, that's too much. If you're posting to your social media feed or to your portfolio on your website and you replace the sky in a photo, that's art. That's you. You can do whatever you want. So I think it depends on what you're using it for. It depends on what you're using it for. If you're using it again for news and to be factual, any photoshopping is too much. I would even say maybe even editing, cropping might be too much because you're changing the story by changing what's in the frame. Yeah. So, um, yeah. And as long as you're good at it, it blends and it looks authentic. If that's what you intend. Again, it's art, so have fun. Learn Photoshop. It's a great piece of software. If you're going to learn something else besides Lightroom, learn Photoshop. It lets you do so many things. All right. Now moving on to the business side. Um, how do you get started in photography business? Especially, and this is one of the cool things about photography. And this is kind of how I approach it. It's not my primary source of income either. The clicking of pictures is. The teaching of it is. Um, so how do you get started? Well, find out what makes you different. What kind of photography are you going to do? Sometimes when you get started, you're doing a little bit of everything to learn what you like and to pay the bills. A great time to start photography is when you're living at home, paying low rent. Do all the hard things of maybe investing in some equipment and learning while you're not necessarily having tons of income come in. I will put some resources. I'm going to build a web page with some of the answers and resources from today on Canvas. I'll include a link to the Washington State place where you go to get a business license. That's your first step. It's a pretty quick process, relatively inexpensive. You need a business license for the state and then for whatever city you live in. So there's two licenses. So that's the first practical step. The other practical steps are again determining what do you love about photography. Do you want to sell prints? Do you want to take pictures of people? Do you want to take pictures of landscapes? Do you want to lead workshops? Do you want to teach photography? Do you want my job? No, you can't have my job. I'm not done yet. Do you want to start a YouTube channel? Do you want to? Oh my goodness, there's many things, and sometimes it's overwhelming. It certainly can be a great way to make some extra income. It can be a potential full income source as well. That's a little harder, but it's doable. It's doable. I'm glad to talk more in depth if you want a one-on-one about that. We do cover a little bit of the business side of things in the portrait photography class, which is Art 148, to be determined when that will be offered again when we get back face to face. But we do talk the business side of that. And again, I'm glad to do some one-on-one conversation with you. It's hard to kind of answer in a general way because there's so many details. But if you're interested, you can make a living at it. You're a professional photographer the minute someone pays you some money or at least buys you lunch. And then now you can say you're a pro. Easy. Except it's not. Some more photography biz questions. So question is about how do you charge people for your photography. So there's lots of different philosophies on this. Basically, here's the first. There's two things I want to tell you about what to charge. First thing, number one, pretty much never work for free. Okay, never work for free. Now, it may not be paid in money. Sometimes you can trade for, let's say you're working with a makeup artist or something. You could trade for them coming and doing some work for you, or you're trading with a graphic designer to do a logo for you. That has value. You can also trade for experience in a sense. By that I mean something that you could, like, let's say Bill Gates called you up and said, "Hey, I like your work. I want you to take my portrait." I do that for free, even though he can afford it. But you know what I mean? If there's something that is so valuable that it has value to what you want to do next. So don't work for free. There's a number of some of the photography websites I read going around again about people wanting photographers to work their weddings for free, but we'll give you exposure to 3,000 people on our Facebook page. That's worth exactly nothing. It's worth nothing. When you're getting started, you won't charge as much, probably. You will work cheap. But that's how it goes. That's how you learn and grow. How do you decide what to charge? Figure out what you need to live if you're doing it full time, or have a goal in mind. And then there's some math and paperwork that you can do on that. I'll post a worksheet on that on the page that has content for this. Here's the other second thought about how to decide what to charge. You can't afford yourself. Don't think, what would I pay for this photo? Think what it's worth. Hard to do. Really, really hard to do. I still struggle so much with that. So it's not what you can afford. It's what it's worth to the person who is either buying a photo, buying an experience, or getting their having a portrait kind of thing taken. So pricing is hard. And it's all, whatever first number comes into your head, double it. Try that. Like, oh, I could triple it. See what happens. You'll be amazed at the number of people who, on the other end of it, that's not a big deal to them. Yeah, you have to adjust your mentality on that. Here's a question about how photography business is these days, and right now it's terrible. With a lot of photographers can't get out and do things. I've had no weddings right now, or no portrait sessions, nothing, because we can't get out so much. In general, though, I think the photography business is like any business with lots of competition. You have to be a good business person as much as a good creative person. So you have to be good at your marketing, getting the word out. You have to be good at representing yourself. You have to be good at customer service, which is everything you do, from your website to how you answer emails and how quickly you answer emails. So there's room for another photographer or two or 100, but you have to be excellent at this and the communication with the people you're working with. For photography, especially in portrait photography, that's a very intimate experience. So they're as much hiring you, the human being, as you, the photographer. So they will want to connect with you, and different people will connect with my personality than with your personality, and that's awesome. So I think photography is in a tough place right now, but it's also a good time to get started, because some people are freaking out about it. So maybe you can do something different and change things. You never know. All right, what do we got for next? How can photographers make money? Good question. Obviously, you can make money when you take someone's photo and then they pay you for that. You can make money by selling like prints that you've taken, and they buy a photographic print. You can make money teaching photography like I do with you all, or on YouTube. You can make money if someone sponsors you, if someone sends you gear instead of having to buy it, if you're an influencer, whatever the heck that means. Um, you can sell stock photography. Um, if you don't know what that is, I'll include a link to some of those. So, lots of different ways to make money at photography, and I always recommend on the business side of things to have multiple ways to make money. Multiple ways. So, that's a calendar I printed last year and sold a few of. Um, we buy calendars from photographers we follow on YouTube. I buy books from them. I watch their YouTube channel. I haven't bought any prints, but I could. I haven't gotten any workshops, but I could. So all these, most photographers that are making a living at it don't just they're not just portrait photographers or they're not just landscape photographers. They have other streams of income that when one dries up, for example, like I can't go take portraits now because I people have to wear masks. Um, the other they can promote their books and their resources and other things. Yeah, multiple income sources are good. Um, this is a really thought provoking question. One of the challenges in being a professional photographer is that with everybody having their where did I put my phone? Oh, it's on this thing over here. With everybody taking more photos and good photos with your phone, sometimes good is good enough. So it's harder to for some people to justify why would I pay you hundreds of dollars maybe to take a portrait when I can snap it with my phone or have my friend just do it. So again, that's where that's a challenge, and it's a marketing message, and you can be authentic about it because I can do things as a portrait photographer that most people can't do. I will take a photo of, and this is true of all portrait photographers. For most people, when they sit in front of a person who's a good portrait photographer, the portrait they get is the best photo they've ever had of themselves, even if you're just starting out. Partially that's a function of the technical stuff in here versus here, and partially it's knowing what's going on here to know how to make this sing and dance. So it's not less attention, it's just you're now having to compete against 100 million photos or more every day posted to Facebook, Instagram, and a lot of them are taken on phones. So there's more competition, more people are aware of photography, so that's good. And I think more people are learning where their limits are, so that's also can be good. You just got to work hard, smart. You got to work smart, figure out what you're good at, what you love. People know when you're authentic about the photos you create versus I'm just doing it because it pays the bills. So it's a big part to have your heart and soul a little bit into this.